in Vegas, a true crime podcast for the ages with two friends who hate each other. I'm Ford.
And I'm Vegas.
We have a great show planned for you this evening. The reason why I am by myself here, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. But the wife has COVID, so now this has turned into ground zero here at my house. So Vegas cannot be here tonight in the studio loft to Boogie Down Jones, so he is on location. Vegas, where are you tonight?
I am somewhere between hell and Southern California. I'm not sure where, but I'm somewhere in between.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So we got a lot to get to tonight. Hopefully Vegas will sound okay to your ears. And next week we should be back to normal Vegas right here to my right. Before we dive in, we got a lot to talk about as we always do. And we got a story that we didn't get to last week, but we got a Patreon comment. So if you want to be a Patreon subscriber, patreon.com/Ford in Vegas. That's FORDAND Vegas. You could be a subscriber and you can get this podcast that you're listening right now. You get it ad-free for $3 a month. That's right. Just $3 a month gets this show ad-free, and it helps support the show and pay Vegas's very, very steep contract. I mean, I signed an awful contract when I signed him. Awful. Just way too much money. So $3 a month, ad-free, patreon.com/Ford in Vegas. So we got a comment here from Derek the Zinger, longtime listener. Says, Ford, I think the reason you dropped Steve McMichael's name last week was because of the backyard burial story you talked about involving McKinnon and Dent. Those names made me think of the 85 Bears. And I could see that, Vegas. I could see that, Dent and McKinnon.
Yeah, because McMahon and Richard Dent. So Dent, obviously, direct correlation to the same last name. And McKinnon and McMahon, very similar. But you're not a Bears fan, so I'm surprised that you would come up with that.
Well, I had to read the comment because, it's the right thing to do. But, I don't like the Bears. But we'll talk more. We'll talk a little sports at the end of the show because we got a lot to get to, Vegas. First of all, I'd like to also thank everybody who has come out and listened to and supported the show. I know looking at our YouTube, you think we've only been around for 4 weeks. That's not true. We've been around for a long time. Vegas, we were doing this before the word podcast was really a thing. Like the word existed, but nobody knew what it was. And I know that you're looking at the YouTube going, 4 shows? Oh, these guys are rookies. No, we're not rookies, baby. We're seasoned vets. We're just 4 weeks into this true crime podcast. And Vegas, so far, so good. It's been extremely successful.
Yes, it has. And definitely thank everybody that has taken the time to listen, to view, to watch, to do whatever they do. Because, we got a lot of comments, a lot of people coming all over the world, which is great to see. And, it's amazing. When we started out, like if you had people in all different states, that was cool.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, hey, they're different states. That's cool. Now you have people all over the world listening to you and knowing my voice because my voice is the best voice on this show. That's what they tell me anyway. But your name is first on the marquee for, contractual reasons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For those reasons only.
Yeah, exactly.
So last week, I know we crammed a lot into last week's show. So I want to touch on something that we didn't get to last week. Now, normally on this true crime show, we've talked a lot of death, and that's really been the nature, the crux of the crimes, so to speak. This story, though, a little different, but still a crime. I believe in all 50 states, or if it's not in all 50 states, it's definitely a crime in the state in which these two clowns live in. Vegas, a Michigan mom who fell in love with her, get ready for this, her biological son, says a rare genetic phenomenon is responsible for their red-hot romance. That's right. Kim West, no relation to the former Kim Kardashian West, no relation to Kanye. These are a couple of white people. Kim West is 57. She got pregnant as a teenager and gave up her baby boy, Ben Ford. No relation to me, I promise. For adoption in the mid-'80s. Ford, who is now 38, the same age as me, until tomorrow, tracked down his mother 8 years ago. So he's 30. He tracks down his mother, his biological mother. Somebody he wanted to know, he wanted to meet her. Vegas, I know you had a little bit of a different situation, but I'm sure you would have wanted to meet your biological mother, I'm sure, if the situations were a little different. So he tracks her down. Now, this is all normal. This is normal stuff, trying to track down your mom who gave you up for adoption. So he finds her, and they form a quick bond, which is great. It's great. You get to rekindle a lost relationship with your mother. That is amazing. But things quickly turned sexual, and they went public with their incestuous relationship in 2016, with West boasting that she had mind-blowing sex with her son. The couple has subsequently kept a low profile in a bid to avoid being prosecuted for their illegal sexual relations, but say science is the reason they can't keep their hands off each other. That's right. It's science's fault. This is not incest. It is GSA. We are like peas in a pod and are meant to be together, West declared, speaking about a phenomenon known as genetic sexual attraction. Vegas, are you familiar with this?
No, I have not heard of this.
So I'll tell you about it. The phenomenon was first identified back in the 80s by Barbara Gagno. She's a woman who ran a Chicago-based support group for adoptees and their newfound relatives. She coined the term GSA after noting that numerous people associated with the group became sexually attracted to their family members when they first met as adults. Psychologist Corinne Sweet previously told New Day that she has come across the phenomenon while treating patients who had been in foster homes. At a genetic level, we are conditioned to find people who look like us attractive. We have an almost tribal connection with family members with similar features. At the same time, people who are adopted or fostered feel deeply rejected. They have experienced a profound wound which isn't easily healed. She further explains, so when a son meets his birth mother, he feels a great rush of need. There's an attraction and a longing there. And when it's combined with the appeal of genetic similarity, it becomes a very powerful and complex cocktail, which is incredibly seductive. However, medical experts who are normal are skeptical of GSA, with New York City sex therapist Ian Kerner telling Women's Health that the phenomenon has never actually been scientifically studied. I think that our mating systems tend to seek out genetic difference more than similarity, he declared. In the case of incest or romantic love between family members, I think you have to look at these at a case by case instead of generalizing it as a disorder or a genetic condition. However, West and Ford, that's Mama West and son Ford, say GSA adequately explains the instant attraction they felt for one another. I know people will say we're disgusting, rightfully so, and we should be able to control our feelings, but when you're hit by a love so consuming, You are willing to give up everything for it. You have to fight for it, Wes told New Day. The loved-up mama continued, it's a once-in-a-lifetime chance, something Ben and I are not willing to walk away from. Her equally shameless son said, when I met Kim, I couldn't think of her as my mom, but instead as a sexual being. I had seen a therapist at an adoption support group and had learned about the GSA phenomenon. Making relationships that are more shocking, get ready for this, Vegas, that Ford, the son, Ben Ford, I shouldn't say Ford because it makes it sound like I'm talking about myself. Ben Ford, Ben, the son, no relation to me, was married at the time that they met. The smitten son soon dumped his wife in order to be in a relationship with his mom. Ben told New Day that he couldn't get his mother off his mind, saying to his spouse once, every time I have had sex with you since I met her, I imagine it's her I am kissing. Otherwise, I can't perform. Meanwhile, Wes said it felt as if she and her son had, quote, known each other for years after they met as adults, describing their sex as incredible and mind-blowing. But the couple should be careful, because bragging about their hot sex has incestuous relationships between adults are punishable by up to 15 years in prison in their home state of Michigan. Anyone found guilty of such an offense would be required to sign the sex offenders registry for life. Vegas, your thoughts on this hot mama son loving?
I don't get it. Like at first, when you told me about this story, I had to ask you, was this the son having sex with his adopted mother? Because then it wouldn't be incestuous, because it would be a mother that, you know, he adopted, so they wouldn't be blood.
Yeah.
But you're like, oh no. He was adopted, but this is having sex with his real birth mother.
Biological.
Yeah. And I'm like, what? Like they're bragging about it. Like, how are they not in jail?
Yeah. It's
like,
a crime. I mean, the question is, now I only ask this as like a devil's advocate, but why? I guess there's really no good way to ask this, but technically speaking, why is it illegal? If it's two people who want to be doing it.
Because I think it comes down to the having a kid.
Okay.
I think.
Because like I could understand if like the child was being forced, you know, to have sex with his mom, or if a girl was being forced to have sex with her dad. Like obviously like, okay, well that's hello. But when they're both like, no, we want to be doing this. It's like, well, I mean, if you really want to do it, if you really want to be weird and messed up and fucked up, then I mean, okay. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I understand it's gross. Like, I mean, morally, downright disgusting. But at the same time, I'm like, they're two adults. And if they want to shag, you know, even though they're related, mother, son, I mean, who cares? Meaning, like, we have more important things that our court system in Michigan could be worried about. You know, they could try to fix the water in Flint. You know, we don't have to really care about Ben Ford and Kim West. If they want to be weird and have, you know, mommy son sex and whatever. You know what I'm trying to say, though?
Yeah. I mean, there is other things that we probably, you know, should be more worried about than two consenting adults, you know, having sex with each other. You know, I'm searching, and apparently it's illegal across the United States.
Okay.
Because of the harm that it can cause to family relationships. But to me,
I mean, any relationship can cause that.
well, I know. Like for me, what does the government care if I'm having sex with, a family member?
Yeah. I
Like,
mean, that's, I mean, I get that it's fucked up. I'm not saying that it's not. Like, I understand it, but I mean, if they want to do it, whatever, like for me, if it's two adults, who cares? Bro, you want to have sex with your mom? Go ahead. That's on you. It's your cross to bear. You'll have to answer to whoever you think you're going to have to answer when you're dead. I'll let you do that. I'll let you have that fight. I don't give a shit. But to put them away for 15 years maximum, make them sign a registered sex offender list when it's like a consensual thing, I don't know. Seems a little, we got better things to do at our time. But that's just me.
yeah, no, we definitely do have better things to do with our time. But I do think the main reason why incest is illegal is because people are sick and they have sex with their sisters and brothers and moms and dads is because of the genetic birth defects. Because obviously bringing a child into the world that is probably really effed up in terms of their genetics and probably have a debilitating disease or something like that. Like that's kind of that's kind of mean. But yeah, these people are crazy. They should be prosecuted, but it is a little harsh to put them on the sex registry, which most people think of when you think they're on these sexual predator registry is pedophiles.
Yeah.
Which these people aren't pedophiles. They're just
weird,
brain dead,
yeah.
Incestuous beings.
So if you're listening to this show for the very first time, thank you. Remember to hit the subscribe button or hit the follow button if you're listening on the podcast or if you're watching on YouTube. Thanks again. We appreciate the support. And you could comment in the comments below, or you could tweet us at FV True Crime on Twitter and let us know what you think about mommy and son knocking the boots and should they do time? I mean, I think it's a little waste of time, but whatever. So on this show, if you're new here, every week, as long as there's something available, every week we like to talk about a cold case that was solved. I personally feel like cold cases are very important, and they should be solved for the family members, for the criminals who are still alive, who committed the crimes, and I think cold cases are very important. So every week I try to find a cold case that we could talk about, and we can celebrate over a crime being solved. And this one, Vegas, is out of Galt, California. Can you find where Galt, California is? This show is in Southern California, coming to you from the Boogie Down Loft Jones in Huntington Beach. I don't know where Galt is. I'm assuming it's north.
Yes.
Okay.
Galt is a city in Sacramento County.
Okay.
Which, let's see. It's south of Sacramento, north of Stockton,
okay.
California.
No, Stockton's in the hood. We know some people that live in Stockton.
Yeah.
You and I. That's in the G-Heado. So for more than 3 decades, the killing of 79-year-old Lucille Hutgren in her home in Galt had gone unsolved. It's been the small Sacramento County community's sole cold case murder. That's it. The only one. But now a DNA match on the victim's fingernail scrapings has identified Hutgren's killer, a transient and sex offender who lived under a bridge on Highway 99 until his death in 2011. The fingernails were the key to solving the case. Sacramento County District Attorney Anne Marie Schubert said during a press conference, Hutgren was found dead in her home on May 23rd, 1988. I had just celebrated my 5th birthday 3 days prior by 2 friends who had come to check on her after she missed church. Galt Police Chief Brian Kalinowski said she had been strangled, stabbed, and sexually assaulted. The coroner believed the killing had happened 2 to 5 days before her body was found. Holtgren was an active member of her church and the mother of 2 adult sons, one of whom has since died. The killing happened soon after the death of her husband, and the last time one of her sons had seen her alive was on Mother's Day. She lived a modest life by all accounts, she said. Her church and her faith were very important to her. Authorities identified Holtgren's killer as Terry Leroy Bramble. He was a longtime resident of Galt who was never on the radar of the police until his death from natural causes. But his DNA was on file from a sex assault case in San Joaquin County. The authorities are hoping to learn more information about. Advances in analyzing DNA evidence over the years have reached the point to where what we used to require a sample size of a quarter now can be, quote, less than a billionth of the size of a sweet and low package, Schubert said. Now police are canvassing other jurisdictions to see if there are any commonalities with other cold cases in the region. Schubert said that Holtgren's body was the silent witness who revealed her killer, though his motives are still unknown and probably will forever be unknown, seeing he's been dead for 11 years. Schubert says that the victim's son wished the suspect was still alive so that he could face justice. She said, quote, I too wish this person was still alive so we could prosecute him and put him in prison. But sometimes justice doesn't lead us that way. Holtgren's 78-year-old son, Henry Holtgren, told KCRA3 that he was grateful to everyone involved who helped solve the case. Quote, thank you, everybody. It's one less cross I've got to bear, and it's a big one. Always has been. End quote. So she was 79 when she was murdered. Her son is almost the same age when they finally find her killer, Vegas. Another cold case solved because technology continues to advance.
Yeah, I mean, it's good news. And as I've always said, these cold cases being solved definitely brings the closure to the families and helps them move on, no matter how long it's been since they've happened.
Yeah,
so thank God.
That. Yeah,
I always say that.
You've always said that.
I've always said that. Always said it.
You've always stuck to that.
Always stuck to it, been straight and narrow the whole time.
Never wavered.
Thank God we have these police departments in these small towns of Galt, California, and so on and so forth to solve these cold cases, because it brings closure and just it's just great days for the family of these innocent victims.
So the part of that story that got me was the fact that it was the only cold case in Galt. They now have no cold cases. That's it.
I mean, it has a population of 23,000.
Oh, that's not many.
So, I mean, it's not a lot. I mean, I wouldn't think they have a lot of murders in Galt, California. Actually, you know what? Let me search. I will search murders in Galt.
Per capita in Galt. There's
California.
Probably, maybe 2 or 3? 2 maybe a year? 3?
Okay, so here we go. They actually have some of this information.
Beautiful. It's the internet. It's the power of the internet.
Yep. So in 2000, now this is from 2019. Okay, so it is a couple years old, but we can infer that it's probably right there. Crime rate in Galt, California is 166, which is 1.6 times smaller than the U.S. average. I'm trying to see now murders. Okay, now murders per 100,000.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're going to go, we have to go all the way back, ladies and gentlemen, all the way back to 2015. There was one murder in Galt. And then since then, there's been 0 murders. But last year, Now, this is, again, 1 in 100,000. There's only 23,000 residents, so you can kind of get it. But there were 10 rapes in 2019 in Galt, California, 15 robberies, 52 assaults, 71 burglaries, 340 thefts, 38 auto thefts, and 7 people decided to set fire to different things. Yes.
But not a lot of murder.
Not a lot of murder.
Yeah,
you have to go back.
When you have these small towns, unless somebody from out of town comes in and starts killing everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows everybody. You see the same faces every day. Everybody knows everybody in those small towns. That's why a lot of times when you have these small town murders, it's somebody from out of town. Now, the guy that killed Hutgren was a homeless member of the Galt community. So, well, I'm glad that they solved that case.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the good news is where we are residing in the Huntington Beach area. There have only been 3 murders this year, so that's a good thing. The average now, if you were wondering, Ford, if you were wondering, what are my chances of becoming a victim of a violent crime in California? It's 1 in 227 people. In Huntington Beach, it's 1 in 403 people. So you need 403 people in a room, and 1 will be a victim of violent crime. So not terrible odds.
No.
You should be okay. It's pretty safe.
Good. Then I will leave my front door unlocked tonight.
Oh, you definitely should.
Yeah. Is it that safe?
No.
No, I don't think it's that safe. No. I have forgotten to lock my door, like when I've left my house, but I there's been 1 or 2 times where the door was left unlocked all night, and obviously we survived. But you don't want to make that a habit.
And I don't think that's a violent crime unless they come in with guns or something. I mean, if they're just breaking your house, I don't know if that's violent.
No, I was talking about getting murdered in my sleep.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, I could have that. I mean,
there you go. Stay that on a recorded line.
That would be dangerous. I'm a law-abiding citizen.
Yeah. It's weird not having you like in studio, but still being on the show.
I know, it's weird. I feel like I need you. I need your physical smell and touch.
Oh, wow, this is turned romantic and erotic really quickly. Yeah, it's weird not having you here in the studio. I'll have to boogie down, Jones. But this my small living room has been turned into an ICU unit. So
yeah, I don't want COVID. I'm not one of those people that are like, whoa, I'm going to go get COVID. No, I'd rather not get it. If I do get it, I don't want to know that I don't want to be like, well, I'm going to go to somebody's house that I know has COVID. Well, that's kind of stupid.
That's the funny thing is, we know somebody personally, you and I both, Nate's, as we know him, he's done shows with us in the past, but his wife got it and he was like, well, I guess I'm just going to get it. And he didn't change at all his life.
Yeah.
And he ended up in the hospital. I am not one of those, well, I guess I'm just going to get it. And no, I have been sleeping on the couch. My wife has been double masked. That's her choice, by the way. But she's been double masked whenever anyone's around. She's sleeping in our bedroom by herself. It's been a completely isolated for the most part. She doesn't eat dinner with us at the table. She eats dinner in the small living room. Like I said, it's now the ICU, and she eats in the small living room. We eat at the dinner table, and I've been cooking all the food, and I'm doing my best to not get COVID. So, and it also helps that I'm even more encouraged to not get it because tomorrow is my 39th birthday, as I've made reference here, and I would prefer not to have COVID on my birthday. And I'm glad that the wife got it now and not in 2020, back when it was all, fired up and we didn't have vaccines and we didn't have an idea and we didn't have anything prepared. It's good that she got it in 2022, where she is vaccinated and I think she has one booster shot. So, yeah, I mean, she's fine. Thought it was a sinus infection. Was away for 10 days in LA, and came home that night, tested on Monday, and it was COVID. So, yeah, I'm doing my part to stop the spread and not have my wife spread it to me.
That's probably a good thing, yeah, because you don't want COVID. Nobody wants COVID, but and it's funny that you mentioned Nate's because he was the only one that got it out of the household. So he's the one that didn't go into separate rooms. Everybody else was in separate rooms and away. So, we all know how that happened. Yeah, I would not want to deliberately go to somebody's house and be there with COVID.
No, but next week you will be back in the studio loft, Boogie Down Jones. So,
yep.
On a previous show that we used to do, dating back to like 2017, we did a bit on those shows called Vegas's Picks of the Week, where you would give gambling picks for people to bet on. Well, now that we're doing true crime, we're starting a new Vegas's Pick segment, and we'll debut it tonight. Not right now, but we will debut it on this show. It's Vegas's Mugshot Pick of the Week. And Vegas, we're going to create a little intro ditty because we don't have one because we're in this. We just kind of came up with this here before we came on the show, and the idea hit me, and I thought it would be fun, and you found a mugshot, and here we are. So, Vegas's Mugshot Pick of the Week. I'm excited for the debut tonight, Vegas.
Yeah, me too. I picked a great mugshot. I can't wait for you to show it to, everybody there, and we can take a look at it.
An Alaska man is facing charges in Oregon for killing a man whose identity he stole, has now been indicted on murder charges in the death of his missing roommate 7 months earlier.
What?
Yeah. You see, Aaron Mitchell Hague, he's 33. He's currently awaiting trial for the 2021 murder of Anthony Elkhorn, according to Oregon Live. Hague met Elkhorn, who is an Ohio native, at an Anchorage homeless shelter in the fall of 2020. While at the Anchorage shelter, investigators began questioning Aaron Hague about the disappearance of his roommate, John McClelland, who was 61, from North Police, Alaska, in August of 2020. Anthony Hague, however, claimed police were asking the wrong man. He identified himself as his own brother, Jesse Hague, and told police that Aaron was off somewhere in Russia. Authorities say that Aaron Hague then jumped on a plane from Alaska to Seattle on October 1st of 2020 before boarding a train to Portland, specifically to avoid questions regarding McClelland's disappearance. In order to do so, Hague allegedly assumed Elkhorn's identity. So in March of 2021, Aaron Hague invited Elkhorn to join him in Portland, promising him solid employment. And as a homeless man, he thought, I could use some solid employment. So instead of solid employment, Elkhorn was found dead in a wooded grove near Southeast Hogan Road in Gresham, Oregon, on March 15, 2021. That's per the Portland Tribune. According to Oregon Live, Elkhorn died of blunt force trauma to the dome. Hague was arrested for Elkhorn's murder on March 30th, 2021. He pleaded not guilty to charges of identity theft and second-degree murder in the case. Authorities now claim that Aaron Hague left North Pole, Alaska, and went nearly 400 miles south to Anchorage and eventually to Portland because he killed his old roommate, Mr. McClelland. Hague was indicted by a grand jury on charges of first-degree murder in the death of McClelland as filed with the 4th Judicial District of the Superior Court for Alaska. So you want to talk about places where a lot of murders probably don't happen. Alaska probably ranks high on that list as well. This is a step in the right direction. McClellan's daughter, Taylor Wick, told Oregon Live, McClellan and Hague worked together at a property management company prior to McClellan's disappearance in August of 2020. Alaska State Troopers allege that Hague used McClellan's phone in August of 2020 to text the missing man's brother, claiming that McClellan had fallen ill before requesting money for his medical care. Authorities checked in with local hospitals, but there was no sign of McClellan until his truck was found abandoned south of town on August 24. Investigators said McClellan's disappearance didn't stop Hague from using the man's bank card between August 14 and August 16 because nothing screams like I want to be caught like using his bank card. Hague allegedly used McClellan's funds to purchase several items, Vegas, including $1,450 for gaming equipment.
Whoa, there we go.
He wants to be a gamer on Twitch. McClellan was presumed dead following a civil hearing in July of 2021, where a jury ruled the missing man was most likely died by homicide between August 14 and 16. We believe that he was 100% murdered, the Alaska State Police Sergeant Jeremy Roop said at the hearing.
100%. So there's
100%. Without a doubt. Not 99.9, 100%. Despite numerous searches by his family and authorities, McClellan has never been found. The body has never been found. Hague arrived at the Anchorage homeless shelter where he met Anthony Elkhorn months after McClellan's disappearance, but before he was declared a victim of homicide. 40 people testified before the grand jury before they decided to indict Hague for McClellan's murder, including relatives of McClellan, Hague, and Elkhorn, according to court records. Every step will hopefully help us find more answers or potentially his remains, said Wick. Our ultimate goal, remember Wick's his daughter, our ultimate goal is to be able to lay my father to rest in a proper way. This will hopefully get us closer to that. So they're still looking for McClellan's body, but they got the guy who killed him. So Hague's murder trial for Elkhorn's death is expected to begin July 25. He will then face charges in McClellan's death following the trial in Elkhorn's. So he's got a couple of trials here lined up. He's going to be pretty busy.
Yeah, he's going to be pretty busy. He's got a lot on his calendar there. But as you were talking and I was listening, you would be dead wrong in your assumption that Alaska doesn't have a lot of murders.
Really?
In fact, Alaska is the 4th highest in the United States at 8.4 murders per 100,000 people. And there were 49 murders in Alaska in 2020.
One of them was McClellan.
And 2020. But in 2021, it was the 4th largest. And Alaska is the number 1 highest volume violent crime rate and the 13th highest property crime rate in the United States last year.
Why are they so mad?
Because it's cold and it's dark for like 6 months out of the year and light for 6 months, 24 hours a day.
You know what? You could be onto something.
I mean, think about it.
I know
think
you're
about
trying
if
to be
you
funny, but you could be right.
No, I'm serious. I was dead serious. Imagine
I
you.
like how you keep using the word dead.
I'm dead. I'm dead serious.
You'd be dead wrong.
You're dead wrong, dead serious. Yeah. Imagine imagine going to bed and waking up and it's light out. And it's light 24/7 or it's dark 24/7. That's gotta F with your psyche, man. So yeah, you were not correct in assuming that they were not. You were dead wrong.
That's how you used to describe that. You said I was dead wrong.
Dead wrong.
That was the word.
Mm-hmm.
Because I figured when I made the wrong statement, I wasn't thinking about the climate, the sky, how it's dark all the time for 6 straight months or whatever the hell that number is. It's a ridiculous number. I wasn't even thinking about that. when I made the comment, because I was just thinking, it's Alaska. There's not a lot going on. You'd expect them that they wouldn't be killing each other at such an alarming rate. But I think the dark days probably has something to do with that, I would assume.
It has to be, yeah. I mean, and obviously every year, the highest and lower, the lowest murder rates change every year. But Alaska is always usually in the top 5. Because I do see here in 2021, says murder rate by state in 2022. So this is just this year. Louisiana has the highest murder rate with 14.4 murders per 100,000 residents. Alaska is 5th highest with 10.6 murders per 100,000.
And where's New York and Chicago? 2 and 3.
Let's see. Illinois is number 9 at 7.8 murders per 100,000. But you also have to realize how many, hundreds of thousands of people are in Chicago compared to, like Alaska. Obviously, Alaska's population is probably a lot less.
Yeah.
That's why the murder rate, even though there might be more murders in Illinois due to Chicago, but, their higher population area.
So for the last several weeks, we've been talking about Lake Mead. If you don't know, or if you have forgotten, they found a body in a barrel that was shot execution style, according to local police. He was wearing clothing from mid to late 70s, the Kmart discount store, when it was discovered on May 1st. In a corroded metal barrel. It's disgusting. Our research, according to 2 authors who have wrote books on the mafia, our research has found 3 possible victims who may be the body in the barrel. The thread that strings these 3 men together is that they were all linked to the most powerful Las Vegas mob operation at the time, Argent Corp., a front company for an organized crime operation that ran some of Las Vegas's top gambling operations, the authors wrote. Jeff Burbank is the author of Las Vegas Babylon, True Tales of Glitter, Glamour, and Greed. And Jeff Schumacher, the author of Sun, Sin, and Suburbia, The History of Modern Las Vegas, contend that one possible identity of the victim could be George J. Vandermark, who vanished in 1976. Vandermark worked at the Stardust Casino. Is Stardust Casino still around, Vegas?
No, it is not.
So he worked at the Stardust Casino overseeing the slot machines, but facilitated the skimming of between $7 million and $15 million worth of coins, the authors contend, adding, quote, "The mob wanted him dead, but we doubt that it is him in Lake Mead." The second identity suggested by the authors, William Crespo, who testified before a federal grand jury that ultimately indicted 10 defendants, including an executive for a front company for a mafia operation that supervised some of Las Vegas's chief gambling operations. We can reasonably, by virtue of his owning a boat at Lake Mead, place him at the scene of the dumping grounds around the time the murder may have occurred, the authors surmise. But the leading candidate for the man in the barrel? Authors suggest it is John Pappas, who, according to veteran Las Vegas journalist John L. Smith in the Nevada Independent, managed, quote, Lake Mead's Echo Bay Resort, a Teamsters Central States Pension Fund financed project for the Argent Corporation, end quote. Did the outfit fear that Pappas might have something to reveal about the then unfolding details about skimming at the Argent casinos? The authors ask rhetorically. If so, they had a motive to rub him out. The authors speculate that the infamous murder of Tony Spilotro may have killed the dead man, noting his weapon of choice was a .22 caliber pistol equipped with a suppressor and fired into the victim's head. It's going to be a very difficult case, the Las Vegas Metro Homicide Lieutenant Ray Spencer had told the 8 News Now investigation team. I would say there's a very good chance as the water levels drop that we're going to find additional human remains, and they have. But Vegas, they have not officially identified the man in the Kmart clothing, but these authors seem to think that it might be Mr. Pappas.
I mean, that would be, if it did turn out to be him, that would be pretty impressive that these authors could narrow it down, because we both know that Vegas was a huge, mob infested town. So they're going to find more remains. It's because they've been so long. It's probably, even though we're like, well, just do dental records or blah, blah, blah. It's probably not that simple. Especially when you're underwater. It would be, I think, because bodies, I'm not a medical expert, even though I play one on TV sometimes. And I did say in Holiday Inn Express a couple weeks ago. But I think the decomposition of a body is different in water than it is if you just bury it in dirt. So I think it preserves it a little bit more if it's in water than if you're in dirt.
So we did show some photos on last week's show when after the show, Vegas was like, he told me, you went way deep on the Lake Mead stuff.
Yes.
I was showing you guys on last week's show, I was showing you guys the levels of where it used to be. And I did go a little Lake Mead crazy, which I'm not doing this week. If you want to see that, it's in last week's show where I show the levels of where it used to be. But there have been remains found at Lake Mead where there are teeth still intact.
Yeah. I think it's only a matter of time before we get some answers and see who's in those barrels.
Oh, it's going to be interesting. And yeah, knowing that these authors now have put some odds on it. See what I did there?
Yep.
It'll be interesting to see if they're correct.
Yeah, they know more than we do. So I would say they might not know exactly who. It might end up being somebody else, but I think they're in the good general area, I think.
So at the beginning of the show, you see the intro, and the last shot you see before you see this beautiful face is the mugshot of John Wayne Gacy, serial killer John Wayne Gacy, who killed teenage boys and buried them in his crawl space. And I have Vegas, what's the word? It's not an addiction, but I have a
fascination.
Yes. Thank you. A fascination, not an infatuation, but a fascination.
Yeah.
With serial killers, like a lot of people do who are listening and watching this show. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button there if you're watching on YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast while I'm talking about it. So I wanted to kind of take some time over the next several weeks, Vegas, on this show to discuss maybe some serial killers that you and I both, and the people watching or listening to this show, may not be familiar with. 'Cause, I mean, we all know the greatest hits, right? The Bundys, the Dahmers, the Gacys. But how about the guys that don't have that household name?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds disgusting, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, yes, ultimately it would be disgusting because, they're serial killers for a reason, and most of them don't just shoot somebody in the head and forget about it.
No, they do other things.
Mm-hmm.
Like Robert Berdella. Berdella, Vegas, if you want to be looking this guy up while we talk about Robert Berdella. He's got, some people feel like, the psychologists feel like we shouldn't give these guys like cool nicknames, cool taglines, because that just creates the allure of wanting to be a serial killer, if you're already dysfunctional in the head, which I can understand. And this guy had a cool ass nickname. And, I can understand why this guy was almost proud of who he became and what he did. Vegas, Robert Berdella was nicknamed the Butcher of Kansas City. I mean, that's a cool nickname.
You like the Butcher nickname?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. So the timeline here of what we're thinking, and I'm sure throughout the time that we do this show, there haven't been good serial killer stories over the last several years. I think a lot of it has to do with the technology that's available, not only solving crimes, but also everyone's got a camera on their phone.
Yeah.
It's very hard to hide. You know, this guy, Mr. Berdella, the Butcher of Kansas City, he's killing people in 84 to 87. Those are prime serial killer years. He was arrested on April 2, 1988. So, how did he do it? What did he do? Who's he killing? Berdella was apprehended. We'll start with the end, and then we'll work our way back. He was apprehended on April 4th, 1988, after a victim that he had been torturing for a week jumped naked from the second story of his house and escaped. By that time, he had abducted and tortured at least 6 young men, and the Kansas City Police Department suspected him in 2 other disappearances. Berdella had detailed torture logs and large numbers of Polaroid pictures he had taken of his victims. For those of you who don't know, Polaroids used to be a camera where you took the picture and then the picture literally came out of the bottom of the picture of the camera, and then you like shook it and you let it sit, and then 5 minutes later you had a photo. So that's a Polaroid, because I'm sure some people out here who don't know what those are. Volumes of pictures were recovered by the Kansas City Police Department, over 200 of them to be exact, and they remain in their possession. The Kansas City Police Department has kept the photos. He claimed that he was trying to help some of his victims by giving them antibiotics after torturing them. He tried to gouge one of his victims' eyes out, all to see what would happen. He buried one victim's skull in his backyard and put the dismembered bodies out for the weekly trash pickup. The bodies were never recovered, but left in the landfill. That's the thing about this guy, Vegas. He killed at least 6 men. There's still, to this day, has never been a body.
Well, yeah, whole body.
Yeah, there's been skulls, but there's never been a whole body.
Yeah.
So
That's weird.
None of his victims got a proper burial.
Yeah, that's never good.
No. So a few months before the arrest was made, Berdella was offered a ride home from a bar by people who noticed that he was too intoxicated to drive. On the way back, Berdella allegedly told stories about young men that he had abducted and tortured in the previous months. It was not taken seriously at the time, considering his advanced state of intoxication. Now, something tells me, Vegas, you can't do that these days.
No. I don't think if I'm drunk and I'm in an Uber and I'm like, hey, dude, listen, I tortured and killed some young men the last couple months. It's been great. Like, I'm pretty sure the Uber driver, 1, would probably kick me out, and 2, would probably call the police right away.
Yeah, you sure hope so.
Yeah.
He claimed that the film version of John Fowles' The Collector, in which the protagonist kidnaps and imprisons a young woman, had been his inspiration when he was a teenager. But he didn't kill young women. He killed young men. Jerry Howell was 20 years old, and he killed him on July 5, 1984. Remember, he kept notes, very, very descriptive notes, and these dates are all valid. So yeah, he died, Jerry Howell, 20, July 5, 1984. Robert Sheldon, who you will see his skull here on if you're watching on YouTube. Robert Sheldon was 18. He died on April 19, 1984. Mark Wallace was 20 years old. He died on June 22, 1985. James Ferris, who you will see on the camera there, he was 20, September 26, 1985. Todd Stoops, who you will see on camera being electrocuted. That's right. He electrocuted him. 21 years old. June 17, 1986 was the day that he was murdered. And Larry Pearson, who you will also see up here on the cam. He was also 20. He died July 9, 1987. Vegas, it's a very, it's a shame when, I guess it's a shame when anybody dies, right? Especially this way, by these means. But I feel like it's really a shame when it's young people because they just never had a chance in life and it was taken away very, very soon. All these kids, the oldest one being 21 years old.
Yeah, I can't imagine, old people die every day. It sucks for the families, but that's just the circle of life. I mean, that happens. We all know it happens. We all know we're going to die eventually. But the fact that these, kids or young men, I guess, if you're 21, I guess you're a young man at that point, they're going about their daily lives and everything's good. And then all of a sudden some sick bastard comes up and abducts you and then does all sorts of, these pictures, I'm looking at some of these pictures and geez, there's like the guy that's being electrocuted, Stoops, he's literally, you could see his eyes, like just like this, like you could feel the pain in the guy's eyes that he's getting 7,700 volts of electricity. Or James Ferris, who you just see, needles injected into his back. It's just like, I can never imagine somebody being able to do this to people.
So April 2, 1988 is the day he's busted. So that day, a neighbor of Berdella stepped outside to find a naked stranger crouching on his porch. The 22-year-old was wearing nothing but a dog collar buckled around his neck, and he blurted out a tale of sexual abuse that sent Berdella's neighbor racing for the telephone to call police. According to the victim, he had been held captive in Berdella's home the past 5 days, subjected to repeated sexual assaults before he finally clambered through a second-story window and escaped. Detectives picked Berdella up and searched his home for evidence. In doing so, they opened up a grim Pandora's box of horror. In the house, police discovered some 200 photographs of naked men, the subjects bound and clearly suffering from cruel abuse. Torture devices were also seized in the raid, along with a pair of human skulls, occult literature, and a satanic ritual robe. That weekend, deputies unearthed bone fragments and another human head in Berdella's backyard. On April 4, 1988, Robert Berdella was arraigned on 7 counts of sodomy, 1 count of felonious restraint, and 1 count of first-degree assault. Bail was initially set at $500,000, revoked the next day when officers testified that one of the men in Berdella's photographs, trussed up, hanging by his ankles, appeared to be dead. While excavation continued on Berdella's property and prosecutors contemplated murder charges, homicide investigators started checking out their list of missing persons dating back to 1984. A bargained guilty plea on 1 count of murder co-signed Berdella to prison for life, but authorities suspected him in at least 7 other deaths, so that's 8 total. On December 19, 1988, Berdella pled guilty to first-degree murder in the death of victim Robert Sheldon and to 4 counts of second-degree murder involving additional male victims. He was sentenced to a term of life imprisonment, during which he died due to natural causes. Now, there was something else I learned when they were doing all of this there around that April 2 date. In Missouri, they have the law, at least back then. I don't know if it still stands today, but Vegas, they only had 20 hours to collect evidence to bring murder charges or anything like that. They only had 20 hours. Now you're thinking, okay, well, who cares? It's April 2. That weekend was also Easter weekend. So it was a time crunch. They were in a hurry to get this thing together over the weekend because they only had 20 hours. And that's probably why, they only had one skull, and that was Sheldon's. That was all they had. And you can't have a murder without a body. So Sheldon, that's the reason why Sheldon's the only, his quote unquote official charge was for Sheldon, because everybody else's bodies were stuffed in garbage bags and put out at the curb. Okay, which is genius. If we're it's going to speak honestly, it's genius to chop people up and stick them in garbage bags and let the garbage men take them. But that's why he's only charged with Sheldon's, because that's the only body part they had, because he kept his skull. He kept his human skull.
I mean, the dude got off easy, dying 3.5 years, 4 years and 2 months is what he spent in prison because he died of a heart attack. So he got lucky. He should have been, honestly, these people should be put to death, but I do understand why the prosecutors probably got the plea deal, even though he told the prosecutors what happened.
Oh yeah. Every one of them. They had the journals.
Yeah. So
but they had no body.
That's true. And back then, now you could probably prosecute them with just the journals, to murder. Because now
the old saying, no body, no crime, or something like that.
That was the old saying. But I think like Lisa Peterson and a couple of those other, it was Lacey Peterson and Stacy something in Chicago area, they never found their bodies, but yet they're, people are in prison, but I don't think they got convicted of murder though.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to prove murder when you don't have a victim.
Yeah. The intangible evidence was overwhelming, leading detectives to realize a death, if not more than one, had occurred on Burdella's property, but there was no body. It was most difficult to convince a judge to seriously consider murder charges when there was no corpse to prove that a murder had occurred. Otherwise, Vegas, he could just be writing horror stories, really. At the end of the day, granted, they did have pictures, okay? But, it's still hard to prove in 88 without a body. Yeah. So the skull and vertebrae located early in the excavation of the yard were sent into the lab for positive identification, as Berdella had so many odd artifacts in his store and house. It was difficult to determine what was authentic and what was not, because he owned a business. Oh, the name's not here.
It's Bob's Bazaar.
Thank you. Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah. Bob's Bazaar, because he was bizarre.
Yeah. It's what does it say? Curiosities from the world's far corners.
Yeah.
Or ether knowledge. What? I can't pronounce that. I'm having one of Ford's brain farts.
That's okay. That's all right.
But yeah, this dude. I as I told you earlier, serial killers. They are some weird people, man.
Yeah.
Like, to be a serial killer, you have to be effed up in the head. Like, to commit murder, I don't think, you still have to have a little bit of a screw loose, but not all the way loose, kind of just loosened up enough. But a serial killer, man, that screw's falling out on the floor.
So, like we like to do on this show, if you're listening for the very first time, thank you. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button or the follow button wherever you may be watching and or listening. We like to end these shows on some happy notes.
Ford and Vegas are ready to go. Don't call them Dick and Joe. Talking crime, sports and nonsense. They disagree, it gets intense. If it's not one thing, it's another. That's something we'll uncover. And soon you will discover they're two friends who hate each other. Ford and Vegas.
All right, Vegas, let's give us some quick hits here, and then we will do your mug shot of the week, and then we'll give a little update on our bet that we made last week.
Yeah, we can skip that part. But anyway, let's get into a little bit of news, a little bit of wackies, a little bit of good things. Let's go. First of all, did you know, Ford, that you probably didn't because you're not one of these, but did you know 12% of moms say that they use their smartphones during sex?
I did not know that.
Yeah, did you know that? I didn't either.
No.
Because I don't have sex with moms.
Mine doesn't. My wife doesn't.
Which she's not one of the 12%.
She is not.
Which is weird because 12%, like, is the sex that bad that you got to be on your smartphone? Like, what are you looking up? Good housekeeping? Yeah, good housekeeping. What are you doing? Also, now this is something that I definitely don't have. But a study has found that if you, Ford, have 6 or more friends, you can improve your health. So that explains why I am the way I am, not very healthy because I don't have 6 or more friends.
That's true.
Also, speaking of crime, this homeowner in the United Kingdom, UK, woke up at 3 a.m. to the sound of someone looking through their cabinet drawers. That would freak me out. The homeowner did investigate and found a man in his living room. When the burglar spotted the homeowner, he ran, but came back, which is kind of weird, explaining that zombies, that's right, zombies were trying to get him, and he felt uncomfortable outside. By the time the homeowner's son was awake at that time and called and held the burglar and called police. So watch out, in the UK, there are zombies coming for criminals as well as regular law-abiding citizens. Now, dogs are stressed. Our dogs, you don't have any, Ford. I don't have any, but I love the little pooches. But in Switzerland, veterinarians said more and more dogs are suffering from stress and burnout because of, quote, demanding, end quote, owners. One researcher said dogs are suffering increasingly from tension, stomach aches, and headaches caused by stress. There are a number of factors behind it, but in most cases, stress or demanding owners are to blame. So if your dog is stressed, you're a shitty owner.
All right.
And lastly, happy birthday. 5 years ago in 2017, this month, the Fidget Spinner was born. That's right. It does seem a lot longer that the little Fidget Spinner was born, but it was only 5 years ago. They were selling like crazy. There were so many variations of the Fidget Spinner had been around for years before. 2017 was when everyone was buying them, and sales peaked in May of that year. Many kids and teens began using them in school, and some schools also reported that students were trading and selling the spinner toys, and also many school districts banned the toy for being a distraction. Well, no duh. If you're spinning something in your hand, you're probably not paying attention to what your teacher says. So that is it with the hits of the week. Pretty interesting stuff. I never had a fidget spinner because I was too old, and they're pointless.
All right. And here is your, and again, we're going to create a little ditty for this, little intro, a little intro music Jones here. But here is your Vegas's mugshot of the week.
Yes. His name is Blake Lashy Evans. Now, Mr. Evans, he has been incarcerated and arrested for manufacturing, distribution, etc. of ice, crack cocaine. Now, this dude, he must be ecstatic that he got arrested because he gets to show off his, looks like, at least to me, gold teeth. That's right. This guy has some gold teeth. He is smiling. He's having a great time. I don't know if he's going to have a great time in prison.
I think he might be on some crank. And that's why he might be doing like that thing with his jaw.
Yeah, it looks like the jaw is like crooked.
He's doing something with it. Like he's like grinding his teeth because he's like all fucked up.
Yeah, but unless this is a terrible case of gingivitis, he probably has some gold in there.
Yeah.
I would think. So, hey, maybe those gold teeth can help him post bail. I don't know. I don't have any updates, but
and there you go.
He's excited.
Mugshot pick of the week. So Vegas, before we go, last week we made a bet that the Yankees and White Sox, because I am a Yankees fan, as you could tell by my He's 6'7" shirt, Aaron Judge, that I am a Yankees fan and Joey Vegas is a White Sox fan, and they played each other 7 times in 2 weeks, and we made a bet. And if you're new to the show, we like to also torture each other with bets because we are two friends who hate each other. And I have some flaming hot jelly bellies over there on the other side of the studio loft, Boogie Down Jones, as well as a bag of like gross ones that could taste like dirty socks and stuff. So we made a bet last week that the team that won the most, the other person had to eat that number of jelly bellies, and the winner gets to choose which ones. Are they hots? Do we do 2 hots, 2 nots? However you decide is however the winner will decide. Well, last week the Yankees played the White Sox 4 times. That's Thursday through Sunday, and they won 3 of the 4. So Vegas, because there's only 7 games, the Yankees only have to win 1 more game this weekend, which starts tomorrow on my birthday. So we know the Yankees ain't losing tomorrow. It'll be Yankees White Sox all weekend. The Yankees win 1 game. And next week on this show, Vegas is going to be tortured. Tortured, not like Robert Berdella tortured. No. Although I wish I could send 7,000 volts through his body. He's going to be tortured by his taste buds. That's right, Vegas. 1 win, and I win.
White Sox sweep, no doubt about it. Come from behind victory, down 3-1, win 4-3. See ya. Ford is eating the jelly beans next week.
We will find out, and we will be excited for it. And that, of course, will come during our lighter period of the show. It's how I like to end it, with smiles. We'd like to end it with smiles. And next week, there will be plenty of smiles from yours truly, Ford, as Vegas suffers through jelly belly torture. I'm hoping 6. That'd be great if the Yankees sweep. But I'm okay with just 1 victory. I'm okay with winning just tomorrow. So Vegas has to eat 4 torture beans next week. I'm excited for it. Vegas, I think we're out of time.
Yeah, it looks about that time to get on out of here so I can go watch the White Sox tomorrow beat the Yankees on your birthday, which will be extra bittersweet for me because I can torture you that nasty Nestor Cortez lost to the White Sox.
All right. For Vegas, I'm Ford. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, leave a thumbs up, leave a 5-star review if you're listening on the podcast. Patreon.com/Ford in Vegas to get this show, this podcast, ad-free. That's right, ad-free. Patreon.com/Ford in Vegas. Or, hey, you could just, sub because tomorrow's Ford's birthday. You could do that as well. Shop FordInVegas.com to buy a shirt. That's right. Shop FordInVegas.com. Buy a shirt. We have a new logo. Our new True Crime logo t-shirt is up and available for sale. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching if you're watching on YouTube. Again, don't forget the subscribe button and the follow button. For Vegas, I'm Ford, and we'll see you guys next week.